Hey, Brooklyn.
Hey, Slater?
Yeah, that's right, Mama. How was your day?
Well, I woke up in the morning because my alarm gave out a warning and I didn't think I'd make it here on time.
Oh, that's rough. At least there's football coming. My Texans play Big Larry's Jets. How you feeling about that?
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
But Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs are out.
I'm so scared.
Welcome
Welcome
to
to
an extremely Halloweeny three and out. Welcome to the Three and Out Fantasy Football Spooktacular. I'm your host, AC Slater, and joining me, as always, are the most frightening fantasy football co-hosts. I kid, of course, they're not scary; they're wonderful. It's Count Chris FANGDuel Fee Fiamanu and Mike, Mr. Spooky Dunton. Gentlemen, welcome back to the show. How we doing this Halloween, All Hallows Eve?
All Hallows Eve.
How did we get? No, it's I don't know.
Halloween is All Hallows Eve. That's
Oh,
the
I
whole
thought the
point.
night before Halloween. What did you call the night before Halloween growing up?
Mischief night.
Mischief night. I called it cabbage night.
Cabbage.
Cabbage?
Yeah, that's what it was called.
That's a Jersey thing.
I've heard some
You
people call
throw
it goosey
cabbage in?
night. Do you ever hear
You called it
goosey?
what?
I've heard goosey night. I don't know. I've just heard people say that. I've never called it.
Definitely Mischief night. Definitely was the night you went out and smashed people's pumpkins and did
We
stupid.
threw everything but cabbage, so I never knew why it was called cabbage night. Yeah. Anyway, we got a lot to get to today. There's obviously more trades going on, and there's obviously more injuries going on. I got to take off this wig because it's killing me, but you guys saw it for a little
So did
bit.
Mario Lopez at some point.
Yeah. For real. So let's just jump into it this evening, and we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna talk a little buy it or Halloween bullshit. Let's start with a question that I feel like I ask every 3 weeks, and it keeps shifting a little bit, but there's one team that's always in the conversation. Fee, we'll start with you. Best team in the NFL, is it the Lions or the Chiefs? Buy it or be it, it's the Chiefs.
I'm buying it. Just because I said it was the Chiefs last week, and it's still the Chiefs. Yes, the Lions scored 52 points. Yes, it was on the worst team in the league. So, still the Chiefs.
Dutton.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions might be playing the best football right now, but the best team in the league until somebody dethrones them is the Chiefs.
Jared Goff threw for 88 yards, was
88
it?
yards.
And 3 touchdowns, and his team scored 56 points. Right now I'm with you. I've said it all along because you guys were on, I believe, Dutton early in the season. You said it was the Bills at one point. Fee, I forgot who you said. You said it wasn't the Chiefs at some point. Uh,
Hmm.
but I've been the Chiefs since the beginning of the season just because of what, to Fee's point, what he said. And or Dutton, I'm sorry, the defending champs until you take them down. They're the best team in football, undefeated still at that. So I think it's the Chiefs. But the Lions, man, that was crazy. 3 touchdowns on 88 yards passing, and your team scores 58 points. Meanwhile, 2 weeks ago, CJ Stroud passed for 89 yards and looked awful. Moving on to the Cleveland Browns. Are the with Jameis Winston, who did not pass for 88 yards, he passed for 350 plus. Are the Browns fantasy players done? Buy it or BS? The Browns fantasy players are all starts now.
I mean, I don't know. Here's what I'll say. I left the question blank on the spreadsheet. I think if you have certain players on the Browns, you'll consider them playing more than you might have prior to the Jameis Winston now starting. So David Njoku is definitely moving up on people's radars. Nick Chubb did not look very good, but it was his first game back, so we'll see what happens. But I mean, Jameis Winston threw for 350 yards, and he didn't throw an interception. He had a fumble, and that was his only turnover, which is weird that he didn't throw for an interception.
Yeah. Pete.
Yeah, so I think Jameis is a viable fantasy starter for sure. Depending on what other quarterbacks you have and if you actually really need another quarterback, maybe on, bye week situation or something like that. But I don't know that all the Browns fantasy players are starts now. Njoku for sure, maybe Cedric Tillman, but I think that's kind of it for right now until we see something more from that team over the next few weeks.
All I'm going to say is this. You mentioned Cedric Tillman. Since Watson went down, he has 16 and 28 points. Elijah Moore, 16 and 10 points since Watson's got down. Nick Chubb is going to get healthy, and you don't want him on your bench when he has his game that he's healthy again. You already mentioned Njoku. I mean, I think he's definitely a start now. And Jameis is a good plug and play. Look, Tillman and Elijah Moore, they haven't been lighting the world on fire, but they're showing consistency. I think the Browns are starts. I think we're in a territory that the Browns are starts now. Deontay Johnson was one of the big moves. Yesterday, was it? Yesterday. He went to the Ravens. One question in two parts. Buy it or BS fee. Deontay Johnson stock up, Zay Flowers stock down.
I'm buying that. I definitely think Zay Flowers' stock is going to go down a bit here. Deontay Johnson, he just runs those short, underneath patterns where he gets tons of targets and volume. And I think that that's a huge thing for Lamar Jackson to get the ball out of his hands quick. And that's going to be big for Deontay Johnson because he's going to get a lot of balls thrown his way. So I think that's big for Deontay Johnson, and that's going to hurt Zay Flowers.
Dutton.
Deontay Johnson, absolutely stock up. He's leaving the worst team in football and going to one of the best offenses in football. I think Zay Flowers' stock stays the same, if maybe not ticks up a little bit. Fee, you said it all underneath, which opens up the big play for Zay Flowers. So,
to Dutton's point, Zay Flowers is not a number one, and he's been having to play the number one. So I think maybe that does help Zay Flowers maybe move into the slot or just move into the number two. But Lamar hasn't had a real wide receiver. He hasn't had like a trust. He had Hollywood Brown for a little bit, but Hollywood Brown wasn't Deontay Johnson. That is a 12 target catches 10 of them type of guy, even if the 10 catches are for 78 yards. I think Lamar's stock goes way up if he's healthy, and Deontay Johnson as well. Let's move on to I can't believe this is a question that we're asking this way halfway through the season. Bo Nix, Fee or Dunton, we'll start with you. Buy it or BS. Bo Nix is a must-start quarterback every week.
Yeah, because he's basically putting up the exact same numbers that Aaron Rodgers is putting up, and a lot of people are still starting Aaron Rodgers. So why not start the guy who might actually get more points than Aaron Rodgers?
Fee.
Yeah, Bo Nix, he has the running ability that we've seen over the last few weeks. Plus, he's been able to get the ball down the field, and he's been racking up yards and racking up touchdowns and racking up stats. So I think he is a startable quarterback. I don't know about every week. I think maybe, again, this would be more of a bye-week replacement type of situation, or if you have some sort of injury at the quarterback position, but he's definitely a viable starter.
It's crazy. I mean, first of all, I looked at the spreadsheet and I'm such in Yankee mode. I had no idea where you were going with A-Rod Dutton, and now I understand it. The thing with Bo Nix is I know, I just don't think Cortland Sutton, we've talked about him over the years, is a viable number one. I think he's a good receiver. I just don't think and I just don't understand how Bo Nix is good because the Broncos don't have anybody. Like, there's nobody really like good, but to your point, Fee, he's getting like 50 to 75 yards rushing a game. Like, that's going to help. And he just keeps finding receivers to catch the ball.
And he's decreased his interceptions, right? Which helps his fantasy.
That's the beginning of the year, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think a lot has to do with Sean Payton too, right? I mean,
yeah.
Definitely putting him in good positions and good plays to, keep him relevant.
Who came in for Russell Wilson last year after he got hurt there? I can't even remember.
I don't remember.
Wasn't anyone good if we can't remember.
No.
Nothing memorable. All right, moving on to the next
Trevor
one.
Simeon. Was it Trevor Simeon? No.
No, he was a Jet last year.
Sorry. Okay.
Anthony Richardson. Fee, buy it or BS. He sucks.
I think I'm buying it actually. Well, okay. He doesn't suck, although he has some problems throwing the ball as a quarterback. He's great as a runner. He needs to kind of hone his craft a little bit better. And it's going to take a lot of time. He's going to be a project for sure. And right now, it doesn't look good. And him taking himself out of a game does not help his situation either, especially with his teammates. So he's not going to get any help from his teammates when he's doing stuff like that. So he's definitely not good right now.
A lot of it's the head. Things he's said, things he's done. Dutton, to you.
I mean, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound weird, but let me finish. He's the best teammate ever, right? He quit on his team, but by quitting on his team, he becomes the best teammate because nobody wanted him as their quarterback anyway. They got the guy they wanted, right? So by him taking himself out of the game, he made that decision very easy for the coaching staff, very easy for the front office of, okay, you're not ready to be an NFL quarterback. And we have a guy who can take us to the playoffs. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah, he's a quitter. I don't care his skill level. He is a quitter, and it is going to be a hard sell for him to get back any NFL locker room, let alone the Colts locker room.
Yeah, it's crazy to me. We talked about it last week, how I think he's athletic, and he said earlier he wasn't going to change the way he plays. Now he pulls himself like that. Quarterback, you need it here, right? You could be the most athletic guy in the world, but if you don't have it here, you're in a lot of trouble. Like Ryan,
and how can you look at guys in the huddle and be
Yeah.
like, okay, like bear down, block for me this one time? I'm blocking.
Right.
You quit on this last.
Yeah, it's like what was it? Necessary roughness when the whole line just falls down and they get
Right.
murdered. Blow the whistle! Blow the whistle! All right, let's move on to Kid Robots buy, sell, hold. We're getting real close to those trade deadlines, and there's a lot of people that are going to need to be making moves. Let's start with a wild one because I can't figure out what to do with them. I have on one of my teams. Dutton, we know you have a love for the Packers. Convince me on what you're supposed to do with Jaden Reed.
If people want him, sell him, because here's why. The talent is there, the possibility is there. It's just you need to know that you can solidly put a guy in your lineup and get the points you're hoping to get. And it's scary to look at. I'm sure I don't have him on my team, but I'm sure people look at every week as projections of 15 to 20 points probably, and then he doesn't get it and it makes you angry. So sell him if you can. Sell him is my
Yeah. Faye, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm on Dunton's side here. Definitely sell Jaden Reed. I actually really like Romeo Doubs better right now. He's been getting a lot of playing time and he's been out there for over 90% of Green Bay's offensive snaps. I know Jaden Reed is the same, but Doubs is definitely getting a lot of volume as well. So I'd rather have Doubs than Reed right now.
Yeah, part of my problem is Jordan loves inconsistency. He's been obviously he got hurt last week, but before that he was still inconsistent. And yeah, man, Dutton, to your point, he's so good, Jaden Reed. It's just and I do have him, and it's 12 to 15 points every week,
Right.
his projections. And last week, if he got that 140-yard catch at the end of the game where you had nothing.
Right.
So I don't know.
Now it's from Malik Willis. So does that give you hope?
Right.
Right. You don't know, right?
Yeah. This is an interesting one, especially with what you both said. I'm curious as to hear why. Fee, we'll start with you. Obviously, one of the big stories of the week so far has been Stephon Diggs out for the year. Nico Collins isn't back for at least another 2 weeks. Tank Dell, Fee, what are you doing?
Buying, and the reason is I'm still a believer in this Texans offense. Joe Mixon has been great, and I think he continues to be great, and it should still open up the passing game for CJ Stroud. So I'm still a believer in the Texans offense, and with Diggs now done for the year, it's going to be all about Nico Collins and Tank Dell, and if you can buy him, I would love to get him on my team to be a solid starter for me week in and week out, I think.
Dutton.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Joe Mixon running game is going to help the CJ Stroud passing game, and Tank Dell will benefit from that. So buy him if you can.
My concern is Xavier Hutchinson and John Mechie are the only other 2 wide receivers on the team. Dalton Schultz I love Dalton Schultz. He's a great when you need him target, but he's not that guy. So yeah, Joe Mixon, but who else is going to be taking I'm just scared that nobody's going to take the pressure off Tank Dell and everyone's going to hone in and just take him out of the game. But CJ Stroud is good. They have kind of a softer schedule because they're going to play a lot of the AFC South, which isn't good. So maybe you're right. Maybe he is a buy. Jalen Waddle, what are we doing with him, Dunton?
I'm buying him because I have a strong hunch that Tyreek Hill might not be a Dolphin after next Tuesday.
Oh, why do you think that?
I just
Oh,
think they're going to lose probably to the Bills on Sunday. That's pretty much the end of their season. They're not going to make the playoffs from that, right? And I think they're going to look at it and say, okay, we can build Tyreek Hill. Do we need Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Like, do we have to pay them both? So, as fantasy wise, if you can get Jalen Waddle on your team, I think it's a good idea, especially in those dynasty leagues, because I think next year is even better.
Hey,
yeah, so I'm buying Jalen Waddle, but not because of what Dutton said, because I wasn't even thinking about that. Although it does kind of make a little bit of sense. It would be
I'm
very
thinking
interesting.
big brained here. I'm thinking big brained here, Fee.
It
I
would be
like it.
very
I
interesting
like
if the
it.
Dolphins did decide to actually trade Tyreek Hill. I mean, that would be kind of crazy, I think. But I'm still buying Jalen Waddle. Tua seems to be healthy. And listen, Tua is a very good quarterback when he's healthy and when he's on the field. So as long as he can not get another concussion, their offense should still go. And Jalen Waddle is still a big part of that. So I'd be trying to buy Jalen Waddle at this point.
I agree with both of you. I wasn't thinking Dutton's reason either. I just think he's been a little bit down because of the quarterback play, and now Tua's back, and you may be able to get him cheaper than you will in a couple of weeks. Put it that way. Tank Bigsby's been on fire. What are you doing with him, Dutton?
You're going to sell him if you have offers. They Jaguars traded their left tackle this week,
And Christian Kirk is out for the year.
and Christian Kirk is out
That
for the
hurts
year.
their offense.
And this could be the beginning of the fire sale down in Jacksonville.
Fee?
Well, I said hold, and I think it's because yes, they traded their left tackle, and yes, they have offensive problems, but Tank Bigsby has been very good.
He has.
And even if that ship is going down, they're still going to have to play. And if they decide to, I don't know, maybe trade Etienne or not play him as much to see what they have with Bigsby, I think that he's going to get a lot of volume. He's going to get a lot of run. And I think he could be a big part of that offense. Even if they're not good, he could still be good and still get you decent fantasy points every week. So I'm going to hold Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning more towards Dutton. I'm definitely not buying him, but I understand what I could side with Fee and hold on to him to see what happens, because like it's like having the worst having a relief pitcher on the worst team in fantasy baseball. Like that team's going to win 50 games, but that reliever is probably going to save 40 of them. So you're still they still got to play the game, right? Then Cade Otton, let's move on. Don't you want to say Cotton? Old move, Cotton. So Dutton, obviously we got to start with you with a Tampa Bay Buck.
I mean, I picked him up last week and he scored 25 points on fantasy. Like
Did you start him?
Exactly what we told you was going to happen. Baker Mayfield needed somebody to throw the ball to,
Yeah.
and why not throw it to the guy who we know can catch, who's been there and is not just starting out. So yeah, you should be holding Cade Otton unless people are offering you like first round picks for him, right? Like if someone's like, "Hey, we're gonna give you, I don't know, who do you want for Cade Otton?" Because
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
I mean, if you can turn Cade Otton into Amon-Ra St. Brown, you should. But other than that, you should hold.
Fee.
I am on the hold side of Cade Otton as well for basically everything that Dutton said. So hold Cade Otton.
I would definitely try to buy him right now, but the problem is that it's going to be too high, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Last week we got suckered, Dutton and I, on our team, and we started Jordan Love against the freaking Jaguars, who suck. And
didn't help that he got hurt on the first play of the game and played the rest of the game until he took himself out. But go ahead.
Baker Mayfield had no wide receivers. You want to make excuses for people? He literally had no wide receivers. He had Sterling Shepard, who I didn't even know still played football. So congratulations to Sterling Shepard. And he still found a way to have a ridiculous 330-yard, 3-touchdown day like he does every week. I'm going to tell you this. He doesn't have any wide receivers back to at least week 12, 13, they're saying. If they could stay in the hunt, Baker Mayfield's winning MVP. I'm telling you that right now. If they make the playoffs with what's going on with their offense, Baker Mayfield's winning MVP.
I love the
Jackson's
sound of that.
crazy. I get Lamar Jackson's crazy and the numbers are crazy there, but I mean, you look at he's got Travis Henry, Derrick Henry next to him. It helps your play when you're a running quarterback to have that guy next to you. Baker's doing this by himself right
2
now.
weeks ago, I told my Packer fan daughter that Baker Mayfield and the Bucks were going to beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. And then that's the same night that Chris Godwin and Mike Evans both got hurt. So, yeah, because I'm with you. Like, their offense was clicking, and I really thought they could go into Arrowhead and give the Chiefs a hard time because nobody's gone back and forth with the Chiefs, really, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm worried about it. But yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. The last buy sell hold is obviously you guys can see the pattern here. CMC, Nico Collins, Mike Evans, obviously 3 people that are going to be back from injury within the next few weeks. If you want to make a trade because of the trade deadline, you're going to have to trade while they're still hurt. Fee, what are you doing with them?
I want to buy them. I think pretty much all of them. I would absolutely buy Nico Collins for sure for the same reasons that I mentioned earlier about the Texans offense. Mike Evans, again, we just spoke about Baker and that Tampa Bay offense, so I definitely want to buy both of those guys if possible, although it seems like that might be tough. Nico Collins, you might be able to buy. Mike Evans, sure, you can hold, but I would try to buy as well. Christian McCaffrey is an interesting one. I still say buy him, but only if you can get him for cheap, because he hasn't played for so long that maybe someone's looking to dump him. Or maybe, they were looking to dump him for a while and you never made a move on it, but you are trying to now. So I would try to buy him, but only if you could do it for cheap. Otherwise, yeah, I don't know. Christian McCaffrey.
Selling Christian McCaffrey and getting guys who can play who are not going to get hurt, and then you'll have them for the playoffs because people are going to want Christian McCaffrey thinking they can have him for the playoffs, and he'll get hurt, so they won't have him. I'm buying Nico Collins because he's going to come back and he's going to be great. And if you have Mike Evans, you're holding Mike Evans for exactly what you said, Wayne, because he's coming back in 2 weeks. One of those weeks is a bye week too, right? You weren't going to have him anyway.
Yeah,
and
3 weeks.
When he was playing, he was great. So you're holding Mike Evans.
Maybe you could trade Jaden Reed for CMC, and there you go. There's your equation. We buy, sold, and held within our own buying, selling, and holding. Yeah, so I agree. I think I'm with Fee that I try to buy all of them, but I do definitely understand your point on CMC, Dunton. That he is a risk factor, but you could probably get him relatively cheap. Before we move on to locks of the week, we're going to do a little rosterbation. And boys, I realize I only sent you one page of the roster, so you're going to have to listen. You probably think longtime listener Basach has the worst team ever. So listen to the actual roster because I realize I only sent one page. His quarterback is Lamar Jackson. His running backs are Nick Chubb and Aaron Jones. His wide receivers are Marvin Harrison Jr. and CeeDee Lamb. And he's got Ladd McConkey at flex, but he also said he also just picked up Cedric Tillman. He texted me before the show to let me know that. He's got Cade Otton at tight end, the Lions defense, and the Minnesota kicker, who I told you hits 3 field goals a week like clockwork. And I think he had 2 field goals and 3 extra points, which is the same amount of points. On his bench, he's got Darnold. He's got Mike Evans injured. He's got Ferguson, who you liked for a little bit. Najee Harris, and Mostert. What do you think? Either one of you.
I think that's a very suspect lineup. I like Aaron Jones. I like and Lamar Jackson. Those are 2 solid guys. I think that's great to have those guys, but almost everywhere else is like very iffy, if you will. Nick Chubb, I'm not really a believer in. I know that
you do not like Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I'm not really a believer. I mean, like, previous years, sure, he was great, but now coming off these injuries and everything else, I'm just not a big time believer in Nick Chubb. CeeDee Lamb has had a tough year because the Cowboys suck and Dak sucks. And I don't really see that situation getting better. So he'll put up, average points for you, but he was a first round pick that you wanted to be putting up top 5 receiver points, and that's
Hmm.
not really happening, and I don't see that happening going forward either. So that's kind of a tough situation. Obviously picking up Cedric Tillman's solid. Kate Otten, picking him up is solid. And actually I really like Lad McConkey a lot. So that's actually a really good flex situation to have in him. But you got a couple of guys in a couple of positions that are just kind of suspect. And I don't really even know that there's much you can do about it. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know that anybody's really trying to trade for CeeDee Lamb, and even if they are, what are you getting back for him? So, I think it's a tough spot. But he does have a lot of really good guys, and they could carry him for sure into the playoffs. I just think, you stay on the waiver wires and see if you can make some deals.
Yeah. Yeah. Dutton.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those lineups that every Sunday you look at and you're excited to see what happens, and then by
Yeah.
the end, like the 4 o'clock games, you're like, oh, I'll let down again. Like Lamar might go off, but CD does nothing or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's like, we've all had those teams where we're excited every beginning of the Sunday, and then you're like, yep, this is what's going to happen again.
So here's my thing. He's 6-2, and in 2 weeks, his wide receivers are going to be CeeDee Lamb, Mike Evans, and Lad McConkey and/or Marvin Harrison Jr., who the Cardinals have to figure out how to get Marvin Harrison Jr. It's absurd that they're not. He's the best player on the field.
Yeah.
But that's good 4 deep at wide
That
receiver.
is really good. Yep.
I'm still huge on Nick Chubb, that he's going to come around. Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, and Najee Harris. We were on Najee Harris last week, as now you kind of can start him. Obviously, they're on a bye this week. That's why he's on the bench. But that's a good 3-back stable right there. And obviously, Lamar Jackson. I think this is a good team. He's 6-2 already. I don't see there's any way that he's missing the playoffs. And I think he could go pretty far, especially if Dak and CeeDee Lamb get back on the same page, and CeeDee Lamb has a lot more games like he had last week moving forward, like 120 yards, 2 touchdown games, because that's what he should be doing every week. And I love that CeeDee Lamb always gets that 17-yard touchdown run like once every other week. So yeah, I like that team. Good job.
That is a really good team, actually.
Yeah.
Now that I think.
Thanks for sending it in, Basaj. And we'll be back with someone else's roster next week. And that means it's time to move on to Locks of the Week. I'm going to start by saying that I lost my pick, but it doesn't count, because if there are bad calls and I have to go to the bathroom and we have to end this game calls. And that face mask at the end of the Vikings game was so absurd. I'm not taking the loss on that game. I'm sorry. I'm not taking the loss. That was ridiculous. But we did tell you the 3-and-out pick was Pittsburgh over the Giants. Dutton took, what was the Lions, by about 8 million points. And
Yep, I told
covered.
you, whatever the points are, take them all.
Yeah. And you still covered. So we did well as a team last week. And Fee is still, what are you now? 6-2, it looks like. Yep, 6-2. So we'll go to Fee, because he's been the one that's been on fire of late.
Yeah, so I'm taking the Green Bay Packers plus 3.5 against the Detroit Lions. And the reason is because Jordan Love had his MRI and everything came back negative on the groin. So I think that he should play. And as long as he does, I'll be on Green Bay getting the points. The Lions, yeah, they just put up 52, but again, it was against the Titans. So, it's sort of a letdown spot. And I like the underdog getting points in this game. So I'm gonna take the Packers plus 3.5.
Dutton, I can't wait to hear about yours. I like it. I like the boldness.
I'm taking the Broncos plus 9.5.
There were a lot of huge spreads this week, by the way.
And listen, say what you want, but the Broncos are competitive and they're in games, and I don't know if the Ravens can beat them by 10 points. I think the Broncos defense keeps this game close.
And look, the Ravens pass
I like
defense has been horrendous. They
Right.
let up the most passing touchdowns this year.
That's why you'll see who I have starting at wide receiver this week. I'm taking the Broncos with the points. The Ravens are going to win this game, but they're not winning by 10 points.
Yeah. It looks like Derek Carr is back, and that's what I wrote in the notes, as you can see. If Derek Carr is starting, the Saints are giving 7. I would take the Saints giving 15 in this one because the Panthers, like we said, they just traded Deontay Johnson. They're falling apart. Bryce Young is going to be the starter. They already announced it over Andy Dalton. This team has given up. But if not, I like the Browns getting 2. But Derek Carr looks like he's back. He practiced today. I'm saying the Saints -7. To your Fee, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I never take divisional rivalries, so I would stay away from that game. I really like the boldness of the Broncos play. I would do that, but I think the Saints. I mean,
I like the Saints pick. That's
I like the Saints.
that's a
I
good
mean,
one. I'm on the
yeah.
Saints.
like the Panthers aren't going to beat anybody. They're done. Like they're playing for Bryce Young's replacement at this point. So you want to lock in the Saints. Can I give a shout out to the Brookhaven Fantasy Football League? Because Dunton responded, and Fee didn't even say a damn word. What we did last week is we each throw in $20 and we pick a team or we pick a bet, whether it's a money line against the spread or a player prop. And we threw in 7 of the 12 teams in the league actually got their pick on time. We threw it in $140 parlay, and we hit the first 6 legs of the parlay, and the 7th leg was the Commanders just winning the game.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
You had to see the text thread go to completely dejected with 23 seconds left, going, I can't believe we had this. We should have cashed out. We were so close to hitting it, to holy cow, did that just happen? Right. and we cashed, and we hit a mega locks of the
And
week.
what was one of those legs of that?
That's
parlay?
right. Oh, I'm so sorry. And Dutton, who called it last week that Travis Kelce would score his first touchdown of the season, I put my money where his mouth was. And that's what my $20 pick was Travis Kelce. And of course he did score because 17 or 18 tight ends scored. And as I was talking, a longtime listener, Varas, not that the NFL is scripted. I'm not saying it's that, but the game scripts for teams were certainly focusing on the tight end
Oh,
last
100%. It's
There was
National Tight End
no
Day.
way
We're going to
around
throw
it.
the ball to tight ends.
Yeah, and it was completely unbelievable how many, and even those that didn't score were having big games, right?
Right.
Like, tight ends were everywhere last week. It was nuts.
What
Anyway,
was the payout on that?
what's that?
What was the payout on that?
9.
20 grand? 9 grand?
Yeah. So we were happy. We would have been happy.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. All right, now we're moving on to FanDuel Fees, the stocks of the week.
Yeah, so the stacks this week are a little tough. I don't really like a lot of the situations for quarterbacks, and so it made it difficult for me to try to pick stacks. There are a few single one-off guys that I like this week, but I'm going to try and give it a go here. And my first one is Matthew Stafford because he's 7,600, which is a lot cheaper than a whole lot of other quarterbacks this week. You stack them, and I like to stack with the running back Kyron Williams, who's been fantastic all year, and Seattle's defense against the run has been non-existent basically. Their front 7 is very good at rushing the passer, so it's kind of a difficult thing. But last week, McVay got Stafford to get rid of the ball in under 3 seconds almost every single time they drop back. And so he's been getting rid of the ball very quickly, especially with Puka and Cooper Kupp back in the lineup. And so I think that should help with Seattle's rushing defense. So, well, defense, rushing the passer anyway. So I like Stafford and Kyron Williams this week. I also like Jaden Daniels at 8,700 with Terry McLaurin at 7,400. I know that Terry McLaurin didn't do much the first time around against the Giants, and the Giants do have a really good defense, but I feel like Jaden Daniels with his running ability and Terry McLaurin, the way he's been playing recently, should be able to pick up where basically where he left off and do a lot better than he did the last time they played the Giants. And I expect that Washington should win this game handily, as long as Jaden Daniels is okay with the rib situation. And then the last stack I'm just throwing out there is Jameis Winston at 7K. and Cedric Tillman at 6K because it's a very cheap stack going against the Chargers. If Jameis continues to throw the ball the way he did last week and goes for over 300 yards, I mean, that's going to be an amazing situation for him and Cedric Tillman and probably David Njoku as well. So I like that stack this week against the Chargers. And then my one-offs, really love Aaron Jones this week against the Colts. The Colts defense, again, they can't stop anybody. And Aaron Jones is only 7,500, so I feel like that's a very solid play. Chris Olave, only 7,100, fairly cheap for a really good receiver, getting Derek Carr back, going against the Panthers, who, again, Wayne, you just said, basically throwing in the towel here. And Kyle Pitts at 6K against the Cowboys. I think he keeps going with the way he's been playing as well.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I forgot to do the prize picks, but obviously I'm pretty good at these parlay things, so you should listen to me next time if you didn't last week. So let's move on to your fourth down week. What week are we in?
9.
9. Week 9 starts and sits. Who's on a bye this week? The Steelers and anybody else? That's it, right?
Steelers.
There's got to be another team. Well, the Steelers are on a bye, so there's a bunch of people that you can't start there. Oh, the 49ers are on a bye, right?
49ers are on a bye.
So let's talk. I want to say something. We're on show 104, and we started this show based on accountability, and we always hold ourselves to the picks that we made and the stuff that we said, and that's what I like about us, unlike other sites that just tell you what they hit. We did so bad last week, we're not going to take accountability. We're just skipping over that this week. We've done 104 episodes where we took accountability.
It was terrible. It was terrible because last week was so weird. It was such a weird
dumb week. There was a face mask that had me pissed off on Thursday night that I couldn't even get back on track for anything on Sunday. So let's roll, and we're going to pick 8 winners this week. Dunton, we're starting with you because I already think it's the start of the week. Go.
Joe Flacco against the Vikings,
Let's
Sunday
go.
Night Football. Why not? I mean, look, the Vikings defense is good, but they're not great against the pass, and Joe Flacco's going to light it up. Joe Flacco's going to light it up.
330 and 3 touchdowns.
There you go. I can feel it.
So this is all for naught, but Fee, I'll let you talk about who you want to talk about.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go with Stafford against Seattle. I talked about him before in the stack, so
Derek Carr against the Panthers. We talked enough about him, and there's not enough to mention that the Panthers' 2 best defenders. Well, their best defenders on the Giants now, Brian Burns, but their 2 best defenders, Derek Brown and Shaq. What's his name, Barrett. They both been out since week 3. Like they have nobody. They have nobody. So we're locking in Flacco. We're that's hard to say.
Flacco.
Locking in Flacco. Flaccoing Flacco.
When he was the quarterback for the Blue Hens, he led the flock.
Yeah, there you go.
back with the flock. I like it.
Running back Fee.
I'm starting DeAndre Swift this week against Arizona. Yeah, he's been amazing, and the Bears should lean on him again against the Cards.
Done.
James Cook against the Dolphins. I mean, I think the Bills are going to get up and then run the ball.
Okay. Tony Pollard against the Patriots. The Titans quarterback play is abysmal, and the Patriots, although they beat the Jets, which is
the Jets.
It's the funniest thing ever. And the Jets outplayed them in every facet of the game, and they lost.
So did you hear the stat really quick? It's stolen from Dan Orlovsky. The Jets are the first team in 756 games or something where a team is thrown for over 200 something yards, has 0 turnovers, held another team to under 200 yards, and lost the game. They're the first team. It's like 755-1, and the Jets are the one that lost.
That's amazing. So yeah, I'm still starting Tony Pollard. I don't care. The Patriots are still not a good team. I mean, do we have DeAndre Swift? I feel like is a must start. But if not, if you guys disagree, I'm all about starting DeAndre Swift. The guy's been.
Yeah, I'll start Swift. I mean, that's what I was going to pick. I don't know if he's a must start, so let's start him.
I'll start at wide receiver. I'm going to take the other half of your connection, and he hasn't had huge games with Flacco, but he has gotten a touchdown in both games with Flacco. So I'm going Michael Pittman I know it's Wednesday night as always. He's limited. He's been
But
limited
he sat out like the last 3 Wednesday practices or something.
because ever since they said he was going to be out for the rest of the season, they're just monitoring his practice. He's going to be fired up, and Flacco's going to be looking for him. Fee,
Terry McLaurin against the Giants. Start him.
Dutton.
I told you it's coming. Cortland Sutton. The Ravens are terrible against the pass.
They are terrible against the
And
pass.
Cortland Sutton. I told you at your house weeks ago, Wayne, that Cortland Sutton's going to have a touchdown every week with Bo Nix throwing him the ball.
That's crazy. I don't get it, but it's crazy. Who do we lock in?
I like the Pittman one. That's what I was going to pick until you already had him.
Okay, let's go Pittman and Flacco. Tight end, Fee.
I'm starting Kyle Pitts this week against the Cowboys. The Falcons look good. Pitts looks good. I think he continues to keep it going.
Dutton.
Lamar Jackson got a new toy weapon this week, but he's going to go back to his old toy. Remember when kids got new toys and they always play with the old one? Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's back on Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews ain't going anywhere. I like that. I'm going deep. Last week I went deep on Elijah Moore, and he had a great week. 8 for 80 something. He had a good week. I'm going Grant Calcaterra on the Eagles at tight end. I don't think Goddard's healthy. And last week he had like 2 catches for 58 yards. And we already talked about the Jaguars. They've given up. So why not take a flyer?
I think we should start him just because how many other people are telling you to start Grant Calcaterra?
Ryan Law. Ryan Law loves this guy. But that may be the only other person. So our 3 and out starts of the week are Joe Flacco at quarterback, DeAndre Swift at running back, Michael Pittman Jr. at wide receiver, and Greg Calcaterra at tight end. Let's move on to sits of the week. Fee.
I'm sitting Dak against the Falcons. He hasn't looked good.
Okay. Dutton.
I'm sitting Baker against the Chiefs. I think it's finally going to catch up to the Bucs of not having anybody. And the Chiefs defense. I mean, the Chiefs defense is good. I don't want it to be. Trust me, I would love to be wrong about this.
Chiefs defense is great. I'm sitting Jordan Love. Fee, I know you don't like the Lions defense. They average the most interceptions per game. They have the second fewest touchdown passes allowed this year. Jordan Love, sure, the MRI came back, but he's going to be groin injury is never fun. That's your Bozak.
Here's the other thing really quick, too. Can I say something really quick? The Packers have a bye next week. Why wouldn't you just sit Jordan Love one more? You know what I'm saying? Then he gets 2 weeks off, and you're still going to be in a good place to make the playoffs with this. You know what I mean? Where you are. So,
yeah. So who do we want to sit?
I was going to sit
Baker.
Jordan
I don't
Love.
want to sit Baker.
No Baker.
I was going to sit Jordan Love for the simple fact of I don't think he can run. So I think the Lions front 4 are going to just
sit Jordan Love. That's fine.
Okay. Running back Dunton.
Brees Hall against the Texans because the Jets don't know how to run the ball. They should know how to run the ball, but they don't.
I'll tell you why. That offensive line is Swiss cheese. Fee.
Javonte Williams against the Ravens. You can throw on him, you just can't run on him.
That is true. Bucky Irving against the Chiefs. Dutton mentioned how good the Chiefs defense is. I think Bucky Irving goes nowhere this week.
All the time, too.
That doesn't help. And Rashad White is still he's great for a big catch touchdown and great for a big run touchdown. He's not Bucky Irving's just not going to get the volume to be a number 1.
So I like the Javonte sit, the Ravens front.
Already, yeah, I'm good with that. And he's been on fire, so a lot of people would start him this week.
Right.
Wide receiver, I'm going to tell you to sit Marvin Harrison Jr. First of all, I told you last week I'm a believer of the Bears defense, the way they locked down the Commanders in the second half last week was impressive. And Kyler Murray just doesn't like Marvin Harrison. Fee.
Sitting Zay Flowers. I know that you guys might have a differing opinion on this, but with who's the new guy now?
Deontay Johnson.
Right, with Deontay Johnson now there, and the Broncos defense is very good. And I just think that, and yeah, you talked about it. You talked about how the Broncos should stay in this game at plus 9.5. So I'm going to sit Zay Flowers this week against the Broncos.
And Dutton.
Tyler Lockett against the Rams. Watch out for the Rams. They're going to be a sneaky team that all of a sudden people are like, whoa, how'd they get here? Right? Because everyone's getting healthy and that defense is coming back.
Yeah, as long as they keep Cooper Kupp, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Who do we want to sit? I'm good with sitting Lockett.
That's fine.
Sitting Harrison.
Yeah, I'm good with sitting Harrison.
Sid
more
Harrison.
people are going to play him than Lockett.
Yeah, that's true. Tight end. Dunton, mine was picked first. Fee, you start.
Oh, darn it. I didn't see it. Sorry.
I'm sitting Hunter Henry against the Tennessee Titans. I just don't like the situation with the Patriots. And while the Titans defense has been Swiss cheese, they've actually been fairly decent against the tight end. So sit Hunter Henry.
Yeah, no, I'm on board with that. Dunton, I'll let you talk first.
Well, I was going to tell you to sit Tyler Kraft because I just don't think the Packers offense is going to be able to do much against the Lions, assuming Malik Willis is playing. That's what I was going with. And it's not a knock against Malik Willis. He's actually done pretty well, but
Yeah,
that Lions defense is, I know Fee doesn't think they're good, but I think they're legit.
I do too. Well, I'm with you, and I think the large reason is the Lions defense and the uncertainty at quarterback. But I do agree also with Fee that the Titans don't do much right except for stop the tight end. So I'm good with.
Do you think Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball to Hunter Henry makes a difference? No.
No, it was Drake May that made him explode the last 2 weeks.
Okay.
Exactly.
So our 3 and out sits of the week are Jordan Love at quarterback, Javonte Williams at running back, Marvin Harrison Jr., and we're going with Hunter Henry at tight end. Gentlemen, another show is in the books. Next week's the big 105. Maybe Fee will finally remember that cake. And where's that cake?
I'm going for it. I'm going to remember this time.
Anything to add before we head to episode 105?
No, just hopefully all your team stays healthy this weekend. Because
Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween from crazy old Fee over there. FANGDuel Fee. Go win some money. Leave us a comment. Give us a like. We'll see you next week on 3 and Out.